Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back to the Whole Soul Podcast. Make sure you hit the subscribe or follow button to stay updated on any new episodes, videos, or podcast episodes that come out in the future. Whew. Today is a big episode, and even just feeling into my heart right now, it's funny because I think I've recorded about 35 to 40 episodes on my podcast, and every time I show up in front of the microphone, I still get nervous. I still stumble upon my words sometimes. I still feel a little bit of fear and anxiousness in my heart of speaking my truth, which is so interesting because I've been doing this for about a year now and it's still coming up. And so many people have reflected to me like, wow, like you're just so eloquent with your words and it just comes out so naturally and effortlessly for you, which is so beautiful to receive because just the feelings that arise within my body every time I get in front of the camera or the microphone is so uneaseful. And as the episodes progress, I guess I start to tune more in to my body and my heart and let go of control because I find myself trying to have a specific plan of what I'm going to say or have a direction. And I think that's important, but having a loose outline of an intention, at least an intention of what you want to talk about in terms of topics, because having control, trying to dictate every single thing you're going to do, say, or show up as really just takes away from the natural flow of unfoldment and the divine magic that flows through you. So, my intention with this episode is to just stay in alignment with my heart, my truth, and speak with what's present here. Just allow for the magic and divine guidance to flow through me effortlessly and naturally so that I can feel safe in my own expression and share myself vulnerably with you guys because that's what this podcast is all about. That was my intention with this podcast in the first place, to really just share, educate, share about my journey, the things that I'm learning about, and to connect with you guys through a vulnerable and raw way. So, I really want to start off with a life update because, wow, it's been a big journey this year. 2024 has been a big journey. So in January, I was in Playa Vinao, Panama, and the intention from January 1st was to ground and set roots. And what this looked like for me and my partner Taylor was making our house a home, creating a beautiful sanctuary. And that is what we did. We spent the first few months of this year really just like diving into the root chakra, grimy ground earthing work. So this looked like getting rid of a lot of things in our house, moving around while there's construction happening, designing, going to different stores, ordering pieces, and just like really beautifying our space. But at the same time, it took a lot of energy and time because we weren't living in our home, we were living in a different home. And there was just a lot of construction noise because we were living next door. There was a lot going on, a lot of creative life force energy was coming out. Super grateful for that. And as our house started becoming a home, a few months later, which was around March and April, once we were finally starting to settle in, I was feeling so dysregulated and out of alignment. And this wasn't something that was new to me. Living in Panama, I really thought that it was the home environment that was creating this feeling. But once we really settled into this beautified home space, this amazing, safe sanctuary that we created, this feeling wasn't going away. And it left me feeling very disconnected from my truth and my purpose and what I was actually doing. And I realized that it wasn't just the home space, it was just the energy of the location that we were living in. I just want to say I'm so grateful for Playa Venal, for Panama coming into my life, because this vortex, this space has absolutely transformed my life into the best way possible. I mean, I met Taylor there. I met so many incredible deep soul connections. I've evolved beyond what I can even comprehend or explain sometimes. And I'm so grateful for that space. But to live there and plant roots there just didn't feel right for me. And I was trying to make it feel right for myself because we have a home there and we just created a beautiful sanctuary there. But that didn't do it for me. So I felt like I was living against my nature and my purpose. Something that I also realized through this experience of living somewhere that didn't feel aligned in my soul is that it is so important for me to have accessibility and access to organic food, high quality food, farms with regenerative organic meat, local foods, because I realized that living in a space where there's not that much accessibility to organic foods, my health started to suffer and deteriorate. And through that experience, just like learning and seeing how important my health is to me was really big. So I made the decision to go back home to New Jersey to just be by myself, live with my parents for a little bit. They actually went to Poland for like a month. So I was in my own space for the first time in about 1.5 to 2 years, which was freaking huge for me. I was like, wow, I feel like I can just do whatever I want. I feel like I'm solely in my energy, which was so empowering. And I just had the space to rest and reflect and integrate everything that's been going on in my life for the last 2 years. So that was extremely empowering. I ended up staying in New Jersey for 2 months, which really brought me back to my roots of holistic health, nutrition, vitality, really doing the things that nourish myself on a deep soul level, which really brought me back to balance and center. And I was reminded of a big piece of my dharma, which is health and vitality and nutrition and really feeling my best, because I know that when I'm not fully feeling vital and healthy and thriving, then I don't have the capacity or the ability to show up in the way that I know I can. I don't have the full capability and ability to show up in my most magnetic and radiant form of self that feels confident, inspired, and empowered. So, coming back to New Jersey was just that for me. Also, so much more. I mean, going back to my family system and living with my parents for a little bit and just being in the space and the state where I grew up, there was a lot of childhood, teenage stuff coming up, which was very triggering at times. It's like I almost felt myself transporting back into certain ages and versions of myself that I was in the past. And I almost had to reparent those versions of myself with who I am right now. Because in the past, when let's say I was 16, I was going through something with my mom, or I was going through a very triggering situation, I wouldn't have the tools or the capacity to hold myself. So I would just spiral. And when I would revisit those parts of myself, when those parts of myself would be reactivated, this version of me right now, the one that has more wisdom, ability to hold space, and the tools and the practices and the deep self-love and compassion, I was able to hold that version of myself, which was so incredibly healing. And this happened so much over the 2 months that I was home. There were so many different situations, scenarios, versions of myself that I really came back to in the utmost softness and compassion, forgiveness, and it was a whole healing journey. So that's a little bit of that. And then last month I've been in Colorado. So something that I forgot to put in was that the 2 months being in New Jersey, me and my partner Taylor took space, but it was intentional space because we had just spent the last 6 months together in a row and we went through a lot. I mean, we were moving around, building our home, figuring stuff out. So again, it was a lot of like root chakra foundation work, the nitty gritty. So we were ready to take some space, but in a loving, compassionate, beautiful way. And I think that was really healing for us. So 2 months later, we come to Colorado. I come to Colorado with my mom, and it's a family portal, which was super beautiful. Super beautiful. I'm so grateful. And it was a lot. Again, a lot comes up when you're around family and you have the opportunity to see from a new lens and perspective through everything you've been through and grown through. So I really feel that being with family in your current version of self, after you've done a lot of growth and change, and we're always growing and changing, you have the opportunity to meet them in a new space and meet the parts of yourself that are maybe triggered or activated and hold them in a new and expanded way, which is so beautiful. It is such a blessing. And that was a whole journey for me as I was also re-meeting and reintegrating with Taylor. So that was a big journey. And throughout this month, we've also been jumping around homes a lot. So we've been staying with my older brother, Miko. I'm currently in his basement right now because this is the room that we've been staying in. We've been doing pet sits all over Colorado. And the intention with doing pet sits is to just go to different places, feel them out, because right now we're in the process of feeling into a place that feels good and nourishing for us, where we want to potentially set roots because we realize that Panama isn't it for us. So that journey has been super beautiful, and I am so grateful for the opportunity to move around, to work remotely, to do the things that I'm passionate about, that I love, and to explore different places. And at the same time, it's been very draining, very ungrounding, and destabilizing. So through that destabilization, there's been a lot of ups and downs with mental health and feeling like lost in a sense, because when you're moving around so much, you don't have your ground, you don't have your roots. And that's what I've been craving in my life most right now, is to really plant down and set roots. But the thing is, like, if you don't know where those roots are going to go, you're in this journey of like looking around and seeing what feels good. So I'm kind of just surrendering to that journey right now because, again, we just uprooted. And a part of the journey of uprooting is looking around for where it does feel good, where it does feel like home. And there is the argument of home is within. And I fully do agree with that. And I know that to be true within myself. But also, your physical environment is so important. While you shape your environment, you choose your environment also shapes you. So just finding a space that feels beautiful and inspiring and homey is such a journey, and that's kind of where we're at right now. And there are times where I'm just like, wow, I'm done. I'll come downstairs and just cry and let go of all of these feelings that are running through me, feelings of frustration, just being in this unknown. But I'm also aware that it's in this unknown where the magic really happens. It's where you open yourself up to opportunities and the blessings of life to Whoa! There was lightning. Dang. But yeah, you open yourself up to the opportunities to come and flow in, and you're figuring out what resonates and what doesn't. And through this journey, like, we really thought that Colorado was going to be the place for us, but we're just really feeling into it, and we're realizing maybe this isn't the place. So that's been a big shocker and awakening because, it's like your mind thinks that something is it, and then it turns out that it's not. By the way, if you hear those balls, I think it's actually hailing outside. But through these destabilizing realizations of thinking something is it and then it turns out not to be, I'm really learning that change is literally the only constant. Things are always changing, things are always shifting, and you just gotta get comfortable in the unknown, in the uncertainty, because you can either be shaken up by change every time it happens, and that's destabilizing, or you can find this balance and comfort in the unknown, remaining unattached to an outcome, remaining unattached to these expectations that your mind has. Because again, being in control is actually like blocking you from the divine miracles and magic that would happen if you just let go of control a little bit and trust and have faith in God, creator, source, spirit, whatever, to really come through and open these opportunities that you wouldn't have had when you're in control. And guys, one of the biggest things I've been learning in my life recently is that you will never be ready to make that big leap, to make that decision, to overcome your fear. It's a choice to take the leap, to take the step, to make the decision, because you're never ever going to feel ready. And for the last 2 years, personal example, vulnerable share, I have been so scared shitless to share my offerings with the world, to share my one-on-one offerings, to create a group program to serve women and stepping into their vitality and their health and connection to self, to source. I've been so afraid. And it's been this avoidance within myself that has just been growing. And I know I have to overcome it. I know I have to face it, but I've been so freaking scared. And I got to a point where I'm like, I can't hide this anymore. I'm not only being a disservice to myself, I'm being of disservice to others because I'm not showing up. I'm not sharing what I know. It's like I'm unconsciously gatekeeping the knowledge and the wisdom and the service that I could be providing to other people because of my own fears and insecurities. But no, eventually it gets to a point where you just can't avoid it any longer. And I've gotten to that point. And you have to make a choice. If you're afraid to follow your dreams, if you're scared to make a decision, if you're scared to let something go, you're never going to feel ready to do it. You have to make a choice, a conscious choice to overcome the fear and go into the direction that your soul, that your intuition, that your heart is calling you to. Because your ego, your little mind, it's trying to protect you. But the truth is that it's not grave, life-threatening danger. And that is why it is an invitation for you to lean into that fear, lean into that edge of fear, because it will only lead to growth and expansion, even though it's so fucking scary and uncomfortable at first. So I just want you to know that you will never be ready. If you know what you want, if you have the vision, if you have the dream, if you know what you need to do, it is up to you to take the self-reliance and the self-responsibility to take action towards that. Because, I feel like in the spiritual community, there's so many visionaries, there's so many dreamers, but they don't take action. And I'm not saying everyone, but there's so many beings in this world that have these beautiful visions and dreams and creations, but they're never made manifest because there's never that lower chakra energy of action that takes place. And that is part of the integration of the human experience. Yes, we have these beautiful upper chakras, the heart, the throat, the third eye, the crown, where we receive our visions, our inspiration, our ideas, our creativity. But then a lot of us forget about the lower chakras, the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus. And these lower 3 chakras are part of integrating the spiritual creativity, the insights. And to be a whole, integrative, holistic human, we have to integrate all of these energy centers together. Taking action is required to create in this world. And a lot of us are blocked from doing this because of our own fears. So it's really important to recognize what those fears are. What are those blocks? What negative, unhealthy patterns am I participating in? And how can I rewire and restructure myself? How can I recreate patterns that are in service of myself and my growth and realize and become aware of when the negative, unhealthy patterns are coming into my life. Okay, guys, as you grow, as you expand your consciousness, as you ascend, you are going to have to make sacrifices. And this can be very, very difficult. I'm in a process right now, me and Taylor are in a process right now of making big sacrifices in our life. We are growing so much. We are taking actions towards our dreams. And with that, our consciousness has just been expanded. Our discernment has been clearer of what's important and the energies that we resonate with and we don't resonate with. And this has been difficult because it's been having an impact on the heart. Mostly because we're sacrificing a lot of social life. Because a lot of the people that we've been spending time with, a lot of the people that we love, it is difficult to be around them at this time because our energies are starting to go in different directions. And it doesn't change the love that we have for these people, but it is a little bit heartbreaking. It does bring a little bit of grief because we feel more alone, but we know that we cannot be spending as much time or be associating ourselves with those energies, with the path and the vision and the goals that we have, because it's just not resonant. It's not helpful. It's not helping us grow or expand. It would only be keeping us in a place that we don't want to be in anymore. And that is heartbreaking because, again, so much love for these human beings, so much love. But, at a certain point, as you're growing and evolving, things just fall away and don't resonate anymore. And you have to make the decision for yourself to really recognize what is good for me, what is helping me, what is really motivating me, what is motivating me and inspiring me to grow and evolve and really step into my higher self. And these sacrifices that we have to make as we grow can be heart-wrenching. There can be grief that comes with it. But in your heart and your soul, you know that it is what you need to do. Because as you grow and you let go of things, you are also creating space for something that is more aligned and in tune with yourself and who you are to be welcomed in. And that is a beautiful thing, but sometimes there is a space of emptiness where you have let go of something, there's a space and it feels like a void, but actually it is a space of infinite potential. And by staying true to yourself and your intentions and your direction, you are saving that space, that energy center for something more aligned and fulfilling to come in. So there's also a big aspect of faith and trust that comes with this because you're surrendering and sacrificing what's no longer resonant and trusting that something will fill that gap of unknown of whatever is meant to be there. Another thing that I've been learning is that, guys, you can't outrun yourself. You just can't do it. You can keep traveling, you can keep moving different places and hoping that something is going to change. And yes, your physical environment is going to change, but the things within you that are asking for your attention, that are asking to be felt and sat with, are not going to go away. You can't outrun yourself, babe. Like, you can't do it. And this has been a really hard lesson for me the last few years because I've been traveling a lot. I've been going to new places. I've been experiencing new environments, meeting new people, amazing people. And after I stay in one place and move to another place, stay there for a while, I realize that the challenges, the problems, the things that are within me that may be difficult to face or maybe that I'm avoiding, they follow me wherever I go. And I just want to say this as an invitation for you to allow yourself to feel what in your body is asking to be felt and sat with. What are you not giving attention? Start to see yourself through the eyes of a mother. Reparent your inner child. How would you be treating your newborn baby? that is how you should be treating yourself. Because the more that you avoid, the more that you push away, the bigger that those things will start to become, and they will start to eat away at you. You'll start to feel anxious. You will feel doubtful. You will feel fearful. You will feel this big weight on your shoulders. And, that's very uncomfortable. It creates more stress and pain and suffering in this life. Yes, it's difficult to feel those things sometimes, but as soon as you feel and you process and you give it the safe space to be felt and processed, you're liberating yourself. You're integrating a shadow part, because the things that we reject and we repress, those become shadows. So by integrating and welcoming the shadow aspects and parts of ourselves that we may not want to look at, we are just becoming a more whole soul. That's why I named this podcast The Whole Soul, because we can't run away from ourselves, The parts that we reject, the parts that we avoid, it's a part of who we are. So we need to welcome that and honor that part of ourselves with compassion, grace, no judgment, no guilt, acceptance, self-love, self-compassion. You know the drill. So I've been on a big Jesus kick recently, and not associated with any religion, not associated with church. I actually grew up Roman Catholic, but seeing Jesus separate from religion and church, just seeing Jesus as a divine, enlightened being. So somebody I love is Dr. David R. Hawkins. Taylor actually loves him so much. So I've been learning a lot through Taylor and have been, just studying different things through Hawkins. Something that I love that he created is the scale of consciousness. It's a scale. You can look it up on YouTube or Google. It goes from 0 to 1,000. And these are different levels of consciousness, 1,000 being at enlightenment. So anyways, let me just get into it. Jesus was an enlightened being who calibrated at 1,000. So seeing Jesus through this new perspective of seeing him as an enlightened being rather than a religious figure in church has shifted everything for me. And all of a sudden, I love Jesus. I really do. His teachings are so beautiful, rooted in truth, unconditional love, and it's been so enlightening. Jesus has been such a guide and a teacher for me. Something that he says is, you will know them by their fruit. And what this means to me is having strong discernment of people. Because if you think about it, someone could be doing all the right things on paper. They can be of service, be helping humanity. But if you meet them and you feel their energy, you can feel them by their fruits, the fruits of their energy. And there's several people that I've met in my life, that I know in my life, that are doing the things on paper, but their energy just does not feel pure. It does not feel like it's in truth, in integrity. And this has been a big teaching and lesson of discernment for me, because when you meet somebody, you feel their energy. You feel whether they are open, loving, compassionate, or if they're selfish, if they're hiding something, or if they're acting out of integrity. So this quote alone, you will know them by their fruit, has been so impactful. And I really just have this in my mind kind of as a guide and a teacher of discerning energy, of discerning who is aligned with me and who is not. And that's been a very beautiful GPS tool in my life. And one of the biggest things I've been learning recently is that the biggest block is you. You are the thing that is standing in your way because of your beliefs, your fears, fear of failing, your judgment. And as soon as we can overcome this and do the subconscious work to get to the root of these things and these beliefs and these programs and this conditioning of where it's coming from, and becoming aware of our triggers, becoming aware of our unhealthy patterns, we can start to become aware of these things and rewire them into healthier patterns, healthy behaviors, and start to recognize when we're operating out of fear versus when we're operating from love. Here we can start moving closer to our heart and our intuition, because we realize that the ego's role, all these fears that we have, all these judgments, they're just trying to protect us and keep us safe. But we can recognize that It's not a life-threatening situation, that we can override these beliefs of fear and programming, conditioning that is keeping us limited, because we are truly infinite beings and we truly are the creators of our reality. So by knowing this, we put the power back into ourselves. We empower ourselves to start doing the work within, to start realizing patterns, the beliefs, the blocks, the behaviors that are either impacting us in a negative way or in a positive way. And remember, the first step is awareness. And when you become more aware, you have the opportunity to shift and change and transform into everything you've ever imagined. I love you guys so much. I really hope that you found value in this podcast episode. And most importantly, I just want to remind you that you're never going to be ready. I've said this before. I said this earlier in the podcast, but it's a choice. It's a decision to make the leap and the shifts in your reality to really create the life that you want to create. And making this decision, which is really scary, you're giving the power back to yourself to become and remember your role as the creator of your reality. I love you guys so much. Be sure to rate the podcast on Spotify. And if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment if you found anything helpful or if you resonated. Be sure to follow my Instagram at Holistic Cloud to stay updated on the information on Inner Bloom launching in the next few weeks. And I will see you guys next week. I love you and have the most beautiful, beautiful day.